This episode is brought to you by Americas Rehab Campus. Get on the road to recovery with the best rehab in beautiful Arizona. Dial 1-833-272-7342. That's 1-833-ARC-REHAB.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're now tuned into the ARCast.
Ho, 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 ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for listening to another episode of the ARCast. My name is Buddha.
I'm Vance.
And I'm Michaela.
Yes, we're here today, and ladies and gentlemen, you know what today is? Today is our Christmas episode, and with that, you know, we had to make sure that we brought some amazing people here, and today, the episode that I wanted to share with you guys is our good friend. He's a buddy of mine, and I know he's nervous, so we're going to loosen him up because I got a story to tell about this gentleman. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up to our good friend, Alvaro. What up, bro?
Hi, Buddha. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me and the invitation. I appreciate it.
Hey, so I have to say, and the reason, you know, when I thought about the Christmas episode, I was like, we got to have Alvaro for the Christmas episode. And it's funny that, you know, you say that you're a little bit nervous being here, but you know what I remember when we were doing the community meetings, you know, with the clients, it was a rough part of the week because every Wednesday we had to get together with these clients and we would discuss the things that we're doing wrong. It was like we had to scold, you know, this is what we're, you know, we expect you guys to do this. Please be respectful of staff, you know, all this and that. And we would bring clients over from the IOP side to talk about their testimonies, kind of their experiences of being on that side and, you know, what to look forward to if you want to continue with your treatment. And one week, Alvaro, I told him, I said, man, like it was after one of the workout groups. I said, brother, you need to come through and speak. And he's like, okay. He came, and I mean, talk about bringing the house down, bro. Your passion in your voice, the way that you talked, the way that you held yourself, I was like, all right, man. So when I saw you in the aftercare, I said, we have to get this dude on this show, brother. So that's my story that I wanted to tell about you. I'm very proud of you, man, and I'm excited to have you here today.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That means a lot, Buddha, especially coming from you. Huge influence in my recovery here at the ARC. Buddha is. I was just telling him earlier today that, you know, he sparked an interest in physical fitness for me because, you know, I've never really had much confidence in the gym because people are so fit there, you know, and I'm so thin. So, if it wasn't for those calisthenics, I think it's called.
Calisthenics, yes, sir.
Calisthenics workouts that I began doing here at the ARC during my time in the residential program. I don't think I'd have that confidence right now that I'm building and feel inside of me.
And you know what's crazy to hear you say that is the fact that you came every day.
Yes.
Where other people would make excuses like, oh, nah, bro, I'm good. Like my legs hurt or whatever.
Even when it hurt. Even when it hurt.
He came every day.
It hurt.
Once you find what you love, because I am not a gym person. I am a workout with no one around me. Like my sister will be like, let's go work out. And I'm like, that's literally my worst nightmare. Like, please, I do not want to have anybody I know. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. Just let me do my own thing.
Wow.
And so I'm with you on like just not having a confidence in the gym. But once you find what you love, you do not want to stop. Like, I love Pilates. I'm loving yoga. And,
cool.
You know, I don't really practice yoga, but stretching, just like really getting into it to just be healthy for us and finding what you like because
I agree.
Those big machines are scary.
And me being that former athlete, I just want to say thanks again for your transparency because what I used to do is I used to do 1,200 push-ups a day.
Oh, my gosh.
Man.
For over 15 years.
1,200.
And then I came down to 600, and guess what I'm down to now? Zero. Yes. So
Really?
Yep.
Man, is that by choice? Do you want to do push-ups again?
It literally was by choice because I started to notice how actually when I was working out so much, my old injuries were actually coming back, and so I had to stop.
Oh no!
Actually, I feel better now.
Wow, that's crazy.
Thanks for your advice.
I actually heard a podcast recently, and Tyson was talking about how he doesn't like to work out because the moment he does, it brings out the old Tyson again. So he's like, every time I get into the gym and I see how much I can hit a person and do this and that, he's like, that old part of me comes out again.
Wow.
So I wasn't sure if that was why you wanted to stay away from the push-ups.
Yeah. You know what? I had to stop hitting my addiction too.
Yeah, no, I feel you, brother. I feel you. But nah, man, you know, another thing about Alvaro, and just to show his dedication and his strength, you know, because it's important that we lift each other up. He came all the way from Mexico today to tell his testimony.
Welcome, brother. How long was that drive?
It was about 2.5 hours, and I waited at the border crossing for about 45 minutes.
Dang, dude.
Altogether, I had to leave at 7 o'clock from my home. It's a ranch that my family owns that I currently choose to reside in because of my recovery program.
Wow, that is awesome.
Yeah, man. That's
Well,
awesome.
thank you for being so dedicated to be
Of
our
course.
guest today.
When you say family, is it mom and dad or
Mom and dad,
That's
yes.
fantastic.
Mom
You know-
and dad, they are there 100%.
That's
he's
great, brother.
He's reminding me of the prodigal son, and guess what the prodigal son did? Went back home.
Of
Yep.
course.
Awesome.
That's good. So, were you born in Mexico? Are you born and
I
raised
was
there?
born at St. Joseph's Hospital here in Tucson, Arizona.
Really?
All right. That's right
Because
down the street from here. That's like 2
Yeah.
minutes away.
Because of my parents being from Mexico, I have dual citizenship, and I'm very fortunate for that because I get to choose where I get to live, not just like what street, but what country.
That's cool.
I'm able to work and be parts of different types of communities, and the demographics are really good. I like it.
Good for you. That's awesome.
That's
that means you're probably going to save a lot of souls one day because of people struggling out there on both sides of the nations.
I really, I did volunteering at the orphanage there in the city, in the small town I was at. I started a football, soccer team.
Football.
Yeah, football, a Mexican football team. And it was really great. We had like 4 different seasons. And by the 4th season, their skill level had gone up to the point where we went like undefeated for 9 games straight.
Dang.
Wow.
These are teams that have been there like playing together for like many, many years. And I just pulled random kids,
Okay.
and just, like,
So you're a coach.
oh yeah, I coached volleyball here in Tucson and basketball at a small Christian school.
Okay.
And played through middle school all the way through high school, both sports. Wrestled at Sunnyside.
Oh,
High
dang.
school. Yeah.
Really? How old are you?
I'm 32.
Okay.
He's just a baby.
Because my wife and her brother, he wrestled at Sunnyside, but he's way older. Alana, if you're listening to this, you are way older than him. he's in. I think he's 36. Yeah. So I wasn't sure if maybe you knew, but they coached under Coach DeBerry.
Yeah, Kyle DeBerry and
Yeah.
Wow.
Corey. His son was a year younger than me, but I didn't coach I didn't wrestle for the high school. It was something that my dad wanted me to take up. So I went to a Christian school. As soon as I got out of school, I'd get picked up by somebody and they would drive me to Sunnyside and I would practice there and do the freestyle tournaments on the weekends.
That is great because just as that athlete,
Right.
the scripture says if you don't compete according to the rules, you will not have victory.
Yeah.
But you get that crown when you compete according to the rules, just like we do in our recovery. So I can't wait to hear his
Oh
testimony.
yeah, absolutely. And
I love rules now.
that's good, man. You got to find that obedience.
Rules,
Dude.
I'm a rule follower.
Rules make it easy to do the right thing.
Yeah.
They're there because somebody before us did the wrong thing, and it's like, hey, don't do what I did. I'm trying to help you.
Wow.
The rule exists so that you don't have to go through what I went
I
through.
like that.
Listen to what I went through, and that way you don't have to live it.
That's right.
Sometimes when we live things like that, I feel like we don't come out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
That's a choice.
That's real. And, living on both sides, having that dual citizenship, I think your story is going to be very effective because of, we just had a gentleman in here the other day who was a jail liaison, a peer support, and he grew up in Douglas, and he was talking about how the opioid epidemic, having drugs so close to the border and coming back and stuff like that. So I'm really curious to learn, your thoughts on that as well, and to see if that affected anything. I see that smile on his face. We'll see. We're gonna dip into it. So
My story's kind of a little bit like unbelievable. It almost sounds made up because, I'm one of 7 kids. I'm the middle child of 7 children of both my parents. We were raised by both our parents, and they're still happily married. My parents, with me, decided to start us at private schools here in Tucson. So everybody from me down went to private schools. My oldest siblings graduated from Sunnyside High School.
okay.
Which that was the connection that was made there. But yeah, the day after I graduated from River of Life Christian School there on Golf Links, I moved to Flagstaff because I started NAU during the summer so that I can get ahead. I attended NAU until I was a junior and then decided to drop out because I didn't want to go to school anymore.
So with the high school years, when you were at the Christian school, were you using at all during this time?
Actually, no. I would go out with my sister. She's 3 years older, so she was at Sunnyside while I was like at that school, So there was that weird I guess, like border.
Yeah.
But, we still had the same, like some same friends. Like I knew her friends and things like that. And we would go out, but like it was never like to get drunk, like that would happen around us. But we didn't party. We would go to the parties and have fun, or I would accompany her more or less because she wasn't allowed to go if I wasn't there with her. And
being raised by your parents, did you see any addiction in your family before?
There was no addiction, but there was other things.
Yeah, okay.
I had uncles that were alcoholics, but to be perfectly honest, I chose to become an addict, because I decided to try something new. Okay. When I came home one November, in this time, actually, it was like in this time when I was 19, I tried methamphetamines for the first time. I was invited to what I thought was a party, right, at a hotel. I didn't realize, the slang and all that, what partying meant.
Yeah.
So I show up and like there's drugs there, and I was like, oh, sure, why not? It looked interesting to me. It looked like chemistry.
Oh, wow.
It reminded me of chemistry class. I was like, that's interesting. So like I tried it, and I still remember that I was in the parking lot for like 8 hours just with my car turned on, like zoned out, like just focused on like what was in front of me, paying attention to like weird random things that never interested me before. So it was like I learned a quote here. It was like with Brianna, the therapist, she gave me this letter to read. She said, what stuck out to me was that I was not born an addict, but the day I took my first hit, an addict was born.
Ooh.
So it was just like, that's never left my mind. I was like, wow, like I chose to do that. Like there was nothing like in my life that merited me doing that, like it wasn't because of my circumstances or anything. It was like a choice that I made to try something different. My mom always says, I never tried drugs and I don't drink because I might like it. And then if I like it, I know when I like something, I become obsessed with it. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what happened with me, was like I was obsessed with that feeling and that concentration that came with using meth. And then that turned into Adderall while I was in college,
Oh, man. Oh, yeah. I know that's
true. Yeah, I mean, I guess I became a huge problem when I was 26. I moved to Guadalajara, Mexico, in Jalisco. Okay. And I started using there like every day. Any money that I got was meant for drugs, methamphetamine specifically, with my partner at the time. Mm-hmm. He and I used every day, partying, clubs, and my family got wind of it. And long story short, they actually, and this is going to sound the part that's made up, right? I was kidnapped on purpose and sent to rehab in Mexico, where it's nothing like here. It's very in your face. Everything is forced. You're not able to leave whenever you want. Like your parents sign you in no matter how old you are. And until they come and sign you out or stop paying, you're stuck there.
So you were kidnapped and taken to the rehab, but forced?
Yeah.
Wow.
I needed that, man. I'll be honest. Like I was not capable of making rational decisions for myself. All I cared about was changing the way I felt and staying in that numb where I don't give a, like I don't care. I don't care. And I liked not caring.
Man, and how was the relation like at this point? So, man, that's a lot to stomach. So you were in NAU at the time when you started using methamphetamine, right? You came down and had that party, and it looked like chemistry, and it set you up. And then once you got onto the Adderall, the amphetamines just kind of took over. Did your parents know? Like, how did that start? Like, did they know right away that there was something wrong?
I had a very dramatic moment at home once. I don't even remember what started the argument between my mom and my sisters, and I have 4 sisters, and I grew up with them mostly. So, I mean, I guess I've always felt like really just like under a microscope with them. And that was just triggered.
Sisters, we pay attention.
Yeah, you do. Oh my gosh. I love my sisters. Don't get me. My sisters are queens in my mind, like they are the highest order of human being to me. Mm-hmm. I cherish them and I take care of them. I really take on that protector role. And even when I'm using. But what triggered, I don't remember exactly what triggered the argument, but I remember saying like, you guys are stupid and blind. Like I've been using and I've been doing all these things. And they're like, yeah, we're not stupid. We know. They're like, yeah, that's what this talk is about. I guess it was an intervention, right? So like I started the intervention that they had already planned and, threw it in their face that you have no idea what's going on.
Oh god.
It's
Clueless.
so funny.
Clueless, right?
Yeah, I had a buddy who was like, dude, like we think we're so slick at hiding it when we're using, and like now that I'm sober and I see him, it's like, dude, I know you're using it. Get real, you know? That's so funny.
I developed like a jaw twitch and a facial twitch because of my using. So like I've worked on that for the past 3 years because it's something that causes a lot of insecurity in me. I don't like being looked at. I don't like being photographed for that reason. Because for some reason, anytime somebody slaps a photo, it's like jaw twitched, eye clenched and squinting, and I just don't like it. But
Really?
yeah, they were like, yeah, we know you're using. And then a lot of other things came out that night, about, just, sexual abuse that I experienced as a child.
Yeah.
And things like that, so there was an issue that was brought up then. And my mom was just like, I had no clue about that, like,
Oh man.
what's going on. So they decided to do something about it. Well, I was tricked into making it into Mexico. They're like, hey, we need you to go and help your aunt, right? She's like, she needs your help at the store in Hermosillo. And I was like, okay, cool. My aunt, being the sly little devil that she is, I love her too. She actually basically roofied me.
Wow.
Yeah, she made some some cupcakes, and she knows I like cupcakes, her cupcakes specifically. So she like laced them with a sleeping pill that knocked me out. I woke up in the air, being carried by a group of guys, and I started fighting for my life because I knew I was in Mexico. I didn't know what was going on. And yeah, we got very physical, like I fought 6 different guys, and I don't like they weren't fighting me necessarily, but they were defending themselves, right? Because I would throw punches and like even biting and kicking, I was like
Just
fight or
desperate.
flight. Yeah, I was fight or
absolutely.
flight, man. I'll never forget that.
And this was the part where you had been kidnapped, right?
Right.
And so you didn't, at this point, you still didn't know
I had
that it
no
was
clue.
from your parents.
Right.
Wow.
That's great.
No, I mean those are all experiences that I didn't necessarily ask for, but my decisions definitely brought them about. Like those situations happened because of the bad decisions I was making.
Yeah.
Yeah. And looking back, you said you needed that, but what a scary way to get thrown into it. So
Jeez.
once
Talk
you
about rude awakening, right?
Yeah, and when you got to the rehab at that point, did you know it was your family, or did
yeah.
Okay. I was like, man, I'd be like scared.
No, there was a point where like I looked out, right? Because I was still like groggy, I think you say, right? Groggy?
Yeah.
From the whatever they gave me, right?
The cupcakes.
Yeah, the cupcakes. And I saw my family out there, and I was like, oh, okay, well, like I was still not thinking rationally, but right now, like I remember seeing them, and I'm thinking like, well, in that moment, I must have calmed down for that reason,
Yeah.
I don't remember knowing that, but like I know that I saw them. The first rehab I was at for 9 months, I wasn't able to see my family for 4 of those months. No contact, zero contact. Just hey, your mom called and checked in on you. I was like, okay, cool. They would deposit money so that I can buy things like snacks. And it was very, very distinct, I'll say, than the rehabs here. It's like wake up at 6 o'clock every day, meeting like almost like 4 hours a day. But like it was like blocks, like every meeting lasted at least like between 2 to 4 hours.
Like high school, different classes all day, every day. Just
It was a different kind of high school, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And if we got in trouble, it was like a 12-hour meeting sitting down without a backrest, just like on a bench that was like a piece of wood, where you're like sitting there and you have to be your hands crossed straight up. And if you start slouching, it was like get up and stare at the wall.
Wow.
Man. So just in the intense, so you couldn't leave, even if it's not like you can act up here and get kicked out. Like you're staying there.
People tried. There was like these little groups that would form where they were like try to break free and things. It was very much like a movie,
Dude,
Yeah.
I was very calm because I was sick. I was scared the whole time, so I never got in trouble, luckily,
And how was your thought process towards your parents at this time? Because we hear so many times, like people say, you can't really get clean until you're absolutely ready. Like you have to be ready. So how did, looking at it now, especially where you're at now to this day, what did you think during that time, having to stay there for 9 months? Did you feel ready at times? Were you still confused? Did you know you were going to go back out and use right away?
No. There's been a part of me that always knew that what I was doing was wrong.
Yeah.
But have you ever done something that felt wrong and you just keep on doing it anyways?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was my relationship. I mean, that's my constant struggle, even with my preferences. Being homosexual. It's just for me like it just feels like something. Just like I know the sky is blue, I know that it's wrong, but it's in me, and I have that conflict because something that I feel like I know is wrong.
Yeah,
I still do it. So I always justified, my drug use with that too. I was like, oh, well, drugs are okay, as long as you learn how to control them. Well, I never learned how to control them because that's impossible, right? My relationship with my family got stronger. I learned to value them in a whole new different way because just as hard as if it was hard for me being there, I just remember my mom like crying because she didn't want to leave me there,
Yeah.
She was just like, no, I don't want you. Like, let him out. She's like, this is not a good idea. But those guys, they gave tough love to somebody that they knew nothing about. They just knew that I was an addict the same way that they were once addicts.
Yeah.
And they knew that this was one option that my mom had decided on. And it's like, you sign the paper, go through with it, but she could have taken me out, but she didn't. And I do remember hearing her like, no, let him out. I don't want to leave him. And yeah, it was tough. But, like I said, I saw her in a different light and I value her in a way. It's weird. I've been mad at her. I think I've been more mad at her like for little things than that day,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because there was probably like this, I want to say wake up call or like realization that like, although like this is going to be painful for you and this is going to be hard, her choosing to put you through that was almost harder, like on a mom. And I'm not a mom yet, but I nannied for so many years that I feel like I was, partly a mom, not ever taking that role, but you have that attachment to, you want to make sure that they're okay, but sometimes your decisions hurt to make that you're making to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't imagine what that felt like for her, and probably now like how your relationship has evolved and become so much stronger because
it really has.
You realize what she did for you and you got clean and were with her.
Right. And she, she's my mom.
Mm-hmm.
She'll never want to do anything to harm me. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's something she's always said to me. And when I was there, and even though I wanted to be outside, I just knew that I needed to be there. So I never complained about it. I was always like a lot like when I was here, when I'm in a situation, I try to make the best of it always,
Absolutely, dude.
So I was the one who was always up first, trying to make my bed before everybody else. I used it like as a competition. I have a competitive drive inside me that I sometimes can be, a bad thing, but it's I think it's a good thing because it helps me, want to be a better version of myself. I'm never competing against anybody other than myself.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I was the first one at the meeting, and last one to leave, the one who was annoyingly asking all the questions, if I didn't understand something, I was
just about to say that. That's one thing I noticed about you is if somebody spoke and they said something that you didn't agree with, I always remember you being the type of person to, afterwards, you'd wait till everyone was gone, but you come up to me like, hey, what did you mean by that?
Yes.
Why did you, why did you say this or whatever? And to me, that shows a lot about your character, brother, because I mean, excuse me. Let me just make sure she's okay. Okay. Sorry, guys. We had to take a quick break there. Going back to kind of what you were saying, as a parent, there's no limits to what you'll do to take care of your baby sometimes. Yep. And I just got a phone call in the middle of from the school. As parents, anyone out there who's a parent, whenever you get that phone call from the school, it's not them calling to say that your babies are doing amazing academically. It's always they're sick or there's something going on. So I think she had a substitute teacher. So my wife's going to double check and make sure my babies are good. But just got to check on my babies, man, because those are my babies right there.
Yeah, and thank you for waiting to be a dad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
that way you can be a good dad.
Oh yeah, of course. No, yes. I totally. I appreciate you saying that because it was a choice. I know I'm slightly ready right now. Like if it happened, I know that I could handle it. But if you had asked me 5 years ago, I would have said no. I'm not. I know I'm not ready to be a dad. I know what it takes to be a parent because I've had amazing parents.
Oh yeah,
and I wish I was like him.
Hey man,
because I ended up having 7 kids and abandoning all of them.
Hey, it's all part of our story. It's all part of our journey, man. Yes.
I wish I was like him.
It's a good dude right there. You're a good dude too, Vance. Love you, brother.
I wish I was like you.
That's being human, right?
We always be like each other.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So, the whole thing with your family, going through that, it's still blowing my mind to hear that story about the detox over there. And I don't know what it is about our culture, brother, but it's just like that tough love is just something that they implement all the time. And it's not always beneficial, but you made it through, but yeah, you know what I'm saying? But what ended up happening after that? Because I know that you ended up relapsing after that, huh? How did that happen?
See, that happened in March. That happened March, the 23rd of March, 2019 was when I began. And I really know that that's when the desire in me I gave birth to that desire of really wanting to get clean. So like that desire has always been there. That's why I figured, because I don't have much clean time right now. I'm at 6 months. I'm still a baby in that sense, as far as the quantity of time of how long I've been clean this time. But like I said, my desire has started on that day, March 23rd, 2019. NA talks about how they don't ask anything of you other than a desire to want to stop using.
Mm-hmm.
Each one of my relapses, like any relapse, could be fatal.
Yeah.
I could have died. I could have done something. I could have hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I take those things very seriously. People care about me, and it's very selfish of me to not care about myself when I know there's so many people that love me and will miss me if something happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Every time I did 2 different stays in rehab in Mexico since then, where once I was there for 9 months, and then by choice, after that relapse of that first experience of rehab in Mexico, I was only clean 3 months after that. So a total of, it was 11 months. Yeah, 11 months total of clean time, but only 2 months of that were spent outside of the rehab.
Mm-hmm.
After that relapse right there, I decided to go back to a clinic that was on a ranch where I had experience there as well. I was like, I relapsed, and I was like, I want to go back. And I decided to stay there for 12 months, a full year to the day. After that, I relapsed again 6 months later. My relapses are something like a situation will happen where I lose control for an hour, and in that hour, I decide that using is the best way to create a result for myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's never a good idea. I know that now, and I knew that then. I practice not using now, and not using that, using as a form to resolve my issues. One of them was an argument with my dad.
Yeah.
I got super pissed off because we hadn't lived together in such a long time, and he just really just angered me, and I used every pretense that I could think of to leave that night.
Mm-hmm.
I left, and I went directly to where I knew I could get some, and I just did that, It wasn't the argument. I just wanted to use is what it was. And I was too weak at that time to say no. So every relapse has taught me something. In that relapse, I learned that as long as I keep saying no every day, because one of the things that I remember seeing a board that said a quote on it, and it said, "Learn how to say no, because trying to please everybody is a great loss."
Mm-hmm.
So like that, I'm translating it roughly, right? In Spanish, it sounds a lot prettier.
Yeah, but it's so true, because I think, I'm not in recovery myself,
Right.
but there are so many things that I'm still learning. And one of them is actually just being able to say no, not overcommitting to family, to work, to all these things where I'm just totally draining my cup. And there is actually something so powerful in being able to say no, but also to not try to say no to everything all at once, but to focus on just today, this moment, or, that's something that we almost can make it to be so overwhelming when we're trying to look at the big picture versus just taking it one day at a time or 1 hour at a time,
Right.
Amen.
And so actively choosing no each day for you is something that's so powerful and totally a change.
Yeah.
It sounds so negative, right? No. I think of that Jim Carrey movie where he turns around and says yes to everything. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's
yes, man.
scary.
Yeah.
That's scary. I can't be one of those people that says yes to everything. I'm reading a book right now. It's The Fifth Agreement. And I read the first book. That was the 4 agreements, right?
Oh, what's the 5th agreement about?
Yeah, the 5th agreement is just that. It's be skeptical and learn to listen. So I thought, I was like, whoa, be skeptical. I was like, what? I was like, no. I was like, I can't be skeptical. I have to see the positives, right? But in reality, it's no, it's just analyze the situations and learn to pay attention to your skepticism, because it's there for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like little red flags that your body, that your own brain kind of comes up with, right? It's all right, this is a red flag. Pay attention. Don't drive through that road. You already know that it brings up bad memories. Take the long road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cut certain people out of your life, even though they're asking for your help. You know that you're not in a position to help them right now.
Yeah.
So my partner, he texts me and asks me for money a lot. And I'm just my ex-partner now, in the past person I used with a lot. And I'm like, damn, I really want to be there for you, because I know that we went through something very similar. The thing is, I don't know how to be there for you right now, man. And that's the truth. I call me if you're like in an extenuating circumstance where like, damn, I'm about to die or something. But I can't help you until you go through the same process that I've been through, that I'm going through every day. And then you're working some kind of program because I just can't, I can't say yes to you right now.
You have to establish those boundaries.
Right.
Because if you don't, it's almost like setting yourself up for, I don't even like the word failure, because I don't think it's a failure to relapse. I think it's something that just happens, and it's another day for you to get up and choose to, to do the right thing and to celebrate your recovery and to start, even if it's at day one again. But it's setting yourself up to not succeed and to not keep your clean days and add to it. And it's hard sometimes to choose yourself, and you feel selfish, but there's so much reward when you do put yourself first, especially in something like this where, you are working towards your next day clean, and it takes a lot of energy, and effort and work. It's not, I used to think, before I started working here at the ARC and before my cousin went through it, I used to think recovery has just got to be so easy. But I've not walked through it. And now that I've gotten to sit and listen to so many people's stories, I have a whole new appreciation for people that are walking through their recovery, because it is actively every day choosing to go against your desires.
Oh gosh.
And thanks for validating what Scripture says. It says to come out from among them, the person you used to be like. It says don't hang around them anymore. It doesn't say don't give up on them. It doesn't say that you can't help them, but it just says don't be like them anymore. Don't hang around them anymore.
You're totally right, man.
Yes.
And it's amazing too. Like, I've said this. It's like there is an evil energy, right?
You have said that. I remember you saying that.
And to me, it's like, how many clients have left here at ARC and they're doing so good, and then a couple months go by, they're like, Buddha, I was just getting ready to get my car back. I was working. I was getting ready to get my kids back, and I found black on the floor, or I found something on the floor, or it's like, dude, you know how hard people work to get drugs. Nobody's leaving them on the floor by accident. That was I almost feel like that's how the devil uses things, sometimes, and he'll use people that you love and care about. He'll use your family. He'll use those thoughts in your head that make you feel like you're not good enough, or it's just, I always do this shit. I'm going to just do it again. All of those bad thoughts will just start running through your head. And to be able to distinguish the difference between that, it shows the growth in you. It's amazing, dude, because you're already paying attention to it. You just said right now with the rehab, I relapsed because, and you said, you didn't have those coping skills in place.
The spiritual principles that I learned to practice in NA and the steps really help with all of that. It's the way, it's like my armor, my weapon of choice against that evil one, the evil that is out there. Because for me, those triggers include just the smoke shops. They're everywhere, here in town. I got off on Grant from the freeway. There's a smoke shop that's right there behind the Circle K. And I saw it, and it was all boarded up, right? It's always been there. During my active addiction, that place has always been there. I saw it all boarded up, and there was this energy that came through me where I was like, yeah, hell yeah, they closed it down. I know that that's one place that I'll never have to go to again, not just because I don't want to be there, but because it doesn't exist anymore, right? It was strange. And I love historical integrity in Tucson. So any building that has been there for a long time that changes usually makes me sad, like I wish that didn't happen. But that was one building that I was just happy that doesn't exist anymore.
To me, I'm a huge person that I think God gives little reminders or plants seeds, and I feel like, especially for you to come and be sharing your testimony for whomever to hear, and for you to get that victory on the way here, it's almost this confirmation that you're walking that right path,
I could have gone, east towards El Paso and gotten off on Valencia or whatever and taken that road. But, I feel like I had to pass through there because I felt nervous about being here. I felt like, I'll be honest, I didn't feel quite worthy because of my clean time, because those are my insecurities playing against me right now. That
yes, sir.
If you hadn't relapsed in May right now, you'd be celebrating a year, because it was a year ago that I was a client here. It was November 3rd that I started the residential program of last year. But I chose to surrender that and let it go. because that was toxic for me. Holding on to that clean date or that shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yep.
It was toxic. I was just always remembering. I was constantly reminding myself of my failure rather than the victory I have every single day that I'm still sober since I decided to stop using in that moment and move back home with my family, into that ranch and really just try to utilize that because I did try to come back to do IOP here, but I kept dropping dirty.
Oh, man.
I did. I kept dropping dirty and I was like, that was just like, I'm out of here, like I'm done.
A couple things you said actually are biblical also, because God said, those I love, I test.
Yep.
That means you went through the test, but guess what you learn how to do? Deny yourself, because he also said, those who belong to me learn to deny themselves.
Thank you, Vance.
Yeah.
That makes me feel good. I mean, like,
Heck yeah.
sometimes, you have stuff in your brain that you don't really use that often.
Yeah.
And for example, my younger sister, she and I are basically like twins, right? We're only 2 years apart, but we went to all the same schools, same upbringing, very identical, right? Like as far as same teachers, same friends, same activities. So like, and she's probably going to kill me for saying this if she hears it, but I read her journal, one of her old journals, just recently. It was there in my room. My little brother brought it and like I read it. And I was just reminded, like Vance just did right now with comparing what I said to scripture, right? It was just like, when you choose to be born again and, a son or a daughter of Christ, it talks about how you're not of this world, so you shouldn't engage in worldly desires.
That's biblical.
She wrote that. She was 14 when she wrote that,
Really?
She was doing her daily devotions, and I read it, and I was like, damn, that's who I am. Wow. That's who I am. I'm not this guy who's always looking and waiting for the other shoe to drop, who's expecting the worst so that I'm not disappointed.
Yeah.
That's who I am. I'm not from here. I'm of God. I'm of something that's more than that.
Well, and it's so true too. Like when we wake up and choose that we're going to be a child of God, like the devil is coming at us 10 times stronger than anybody else that's not actively choosing that. And he knows exactly how to get to us. And it's like, I always say I'm my own worst critic, but I think that sometimes it's easier, which it's sad that it's this way, but sometimes it's easier to believe the lies the devil's feeding us than believe the truth that God is giving us. I don't know why, and maybe that's just a me thing, but sometimes it's just easier to believe like I'm not enough or I'm not worthy, but like I choose to sit and listen to what the devil's saying instead of believing that God says that I am reborn and I am worthy and I am enough and I am a daughter of the king. Like it's just, but it can consume you because the negative voice sometimes seems easier to believe. And when you can like actively choose to know that like I am worthy and I am enough and I am deserving and remembering, like where we came from, it can just be this like new, confidence in us again that builds.
Real. You know what's crazy? The analogy that I've always used is like, think of it like a staircase, right? Going up is always harder. Doing the right thing, getting closer to God, praying, making those sacrifices, all of those things that it takes to live a good, a godly lifestyle, trying to be as much like Jesus as possible. Everything, even, controlling the amount of food you eat, all of those things, working out, it all takes work. Going down a staircase, I don't care if you're 400 pounds, bro. You can go down a staircase. It's just gravity helping you out, Like you can go down that staircase and think about all the decisions. It's so easy to overeat. It's so easy to overconsume and to not work out and to not go to work and to not do what you need to do. And it's like once you realize, the way that works and how the devil utilizes it, then you become a threat to him. So now he's got to come extra hard at you because I can't let Alvaro have that. I can't let Alvaro have those wins because now you're a soldier, bro, and he don't like that.
Can I validate what you've been talking about, man, that you're a new creation? Because in 2 Corinthians 5:17, it says, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, which you are, it says he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, all things are new. And that's exactly who you are, man. I really appreciate that. And even the Apostle Paul said, not that I've attained it all, but I press on to that which he's called me. So thank you for saying that, I ain't perfect yet, but guess what? I know the right route.
Yeah, right. Living a righteous life, like Buddha just said right now about sacrifices, right? I think that's what living a righteous life is. It's about sacrificing your pleasure, your desire for a greater good, right? And then in NA, it talks about doing the next right thing. So I feel like there's a connection there that's very important between my personal beliefs and then the program of NA, because, the God of my understanding. My higher power is God, and that's the God of my understanding.
Yeah.
That's what helps me get through, and what I'm able to give my bad situations to, and just let him handle it for me, you know?
Dude, that is a key, man. It's so easy to say those things like let go and let God. I would say it all the time and never actually put it into like,
It's
hard.
Have you guys ever heard the story of the footsteps?
No.
Yes.
In the sand?
On the sand,
Yes, the footsteps in the sand. That's always what I think of, because it's like in our hardest moments, I feel like God is the quietest sometimes. But then when I heard that story, I'm like, it's because he's listening. He wants us to talk to him, to talk it out, instead of, and like in that moment, we're like screaming for him to be like, shoot down like lightning bolts of what to do,
Yeah.
But like in those moments of our like hardest times, he's carrying us and listening.
Yeah.
We can just like get it all out to him. But I love that story. I think it's cool.
That's a great one.
Too.
Man, that's awesome.
Also, like, along with Michaela said, like, God sends answers, right? It's just that sometimes we don't see them. And sometimes the answer is just no. And we don't want to see that.
Totally.
It's like a no. And I'm like, no, I have to figure out every way to get what I want. But it's not about what I want. It's about what's needed. And I think that I suffer from this. I'm very terminally unique, where I think that my situation is only... I learned that here, actually. Like Chantal is the one who taught me that.
Shout out to Chantal.
Yeah, Chantal and Jen. Hey.
What up, Jen?
I really am. I was suffering from terminal uniqueness, where I thought I was alone in my suffering. After coming to the ARC, I realized that I can empathize with a lot of people because I'm not alone. It's a we program. I can't do this alone, but we can do it together for sure.
Amen.
And I love that. I think that's one of the things that, like, talking to people that have come through the program, that you learn is that's what kind of can set treatment here just a little bit apart from everything else. Is you come in potentially alone if you don't have support from family, but you leave with a support group or somebody that you have in your corner.
Still talk to clients that I was here with. One person who will remain anonymous because it's an anonymous program. Is a very important part of my recovery. I talk to her almost every day. I go, and my home group is Tucson. It's not just one specific group because I'm not living here currently. Whenever I'm here, like today, I know the meeting list, because I've done it, but I know which meeting I can go to. Like I said, that's my home group is Tucson. Yeah. Any meeting that's happening while I'm here. And I try to make it, I try to show up and be there because it's important. But people that I was here with, I see there. And I'm grateful for that because it feels good to feel like to recognize somebody, That's always a great feeling.
Absolutely.
Yeah, one more scripture that I use, actually, and I've been using this one for a long time. Be sober-minded. Be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around looking for someone to devour. And I put on make relapse.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's real, man. So your last time coming in here, and another thing, I just have to, reiterate the fact of, yes, absolutely let go of that thought process that tells you that it would have been a year because it doesn't matter. It does not matter. What matters right now is hearing you speak on your testimony. I can hear the changes. I can hear how you're like, well, I didn't succeed this time because of A, B, and C. I didn't succeed the other time because of A, B, and C. Because of who you are, being that educated person, that person who's curious, unique in that sense of being able to question things and to what did you say? The fifth agreement was
be skeptical.
Be skeptical. Look at how much you've grown, bro. Look at how much you've grown. And this was the reason why I was so looking forward to you being here today, is because I see that. Even if you don't see it in yourself, brother, this is something that I have seen from the beginning, from the moment that I met you.
Thank you, Buddha. Thank you. It means a lot to me when anybody recognizes an achievement that I don't see myself, because like I said, I really am my own worst critic. I know everybody says that, but like my terminal uniqueness will like throw me into an isolation where I'm just like, oh, see, the only good idea seems like using. But hearing anybody recognize a personal achievement of mine, it's not like I'm looking for validation from anybody else. It's just that it's good to hear. It's like a positive affirmation that comes from the work I know that I was working, like something that I knew I was trying to achieve. And when somebody else sees it, I'm like, damn, that worked. It's working,
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I think sometimes God uses people in our surroundings at times that we may need more encouragement. So it's like, even though we don't need that pat on the back, sometimes God is like, you're doing a great job. Like, just keep on this path, and one foot, it's just one foot in front of the other, and a pastor used to say that a lot of times we'd rather take the elevator instead of taking the stairs. And we try to do this accelerated version of, getting better. Like, I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to go to the gym every day, and I'm going to read the Bible every day, and I'm going to pray morning and lunch and night, and make it this huge list that we have to accomplish because we're just want to be taking the elevator to right where we need to be instead of taking the smaller steps of okay, here's my morning time. How can I make my morning time with God better? And just improving one little snippet,
instant gratification, right? I mean, that's what.
And the elevator breaks a lot when you try to take the elevator.
And holding yourself to that standard too is unrealistic a lot of the time. When I first got into my faith, reading the Bible, man, I was listening to it for hours and hours, right? And then I kind of faded off a little bit. And I felt so guilty inside because I felt like God was mad at me that I wasn't listening as much. And it wasn't until I talked to a fellow brother, a fellow Christian, when he told me, he said, first of all, you need to check yourself because God would never make you feel that way. He would never make you feel like you're not doing enough. He would never make you feel like what you're doing is insignificant. You need to check yourself. That is not God. He said you need to be careful because the devil can also he knows the Bible
better than we do.
Better than anybody on this earth. So he'll use that towards you. So just be real careful with that, man, because God never gives you those feelings of that,
Mm-hmm.
This is a perfect moment just because I was thinking that on the drive over here.
Yeah.
I was like, God loves me even when I don't love myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing. I refer to the NA because that's my program, right? That's my recovery is an NA. They love me and they are there for me even when I can't be there for myself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy to get a phone list and pick up the phone and call somebody. I have people that I don't talk to for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden, I'm grateful that you are a part of my life. And that, in that moment, it's just wow. So and when somebody is able to be there for me when I can't be there for myself is very important in my recovery.
Mm-hmm.
I have to learn to be there for myself, of course. That's what I'm working on every day.
Yeah.
But there's those people that are just a little bit ahead of you,
right?
That know that sometimes you need that encouragement and that's what I think the beauty of, obviously I've not been to a meeting or really know the ins and outs of the program because that is not something I participate in.
Right.
But with what I've been able to listen to and hear, it's the beauty of community and those that have walked before you. It's the same thing in the church. You look to have a mentor, and this is just another thing that you have in your life, that you have someone you can look that's ahead of you just a little bit so that you can learn more. Because if we try to be all the way at the top of it's just not reachable. No. It's not an achievable goal.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Realistic standards, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who was that pastor that said you're not supposed to be in God's word all day and all night? And I'll prove to you in the Bible that he said you have to meditate 24/7. He says
no, that's not what he was saying. He was saying that we, as humans, we think that we've got to create this huge checklist of all the things that we have to do. And instead of just simplifying it, of having the word, praying at a red light, he instead of making an actionable list, he was saying you need to just do it. Stop taking all this time making the list to get there and just do it. Pray at the stoplight. Pray when you're dropping your kids off at school. Somebody just honked at you. Pray about it. So he was just saying rework your mind of this perfect list that everybody has, because everybody's prayer and time with God is different. Right. And because, the way that you guys pray could be very, very different than I pray. I used to feel guilty because I fall asleep while I'm praying. And I was like, I'm horrible. I never said amen. And then I'm thinking, no, I fell asleep praying and talking to God. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But that was something that I put on me. And so eliminating the judgment behind what we need to do and just doing it. Make your day the way that you can make sure God's a part of it.
Goes back to the whole thing of not feeling like you're good enough or you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing when God doesn't give you those feelings.
And you're right, because nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
No,
absolutely.
and that's where the devil will pry on you and be like, well, you're not doing your quiet time right. And it's it's my quiet time.
Right.
You read for 4 minutes. You said you were going to do 5. God's sitting there with that little what is it at the court when they hit it with the
gavel.
boom,
Gavel.
the gavel. He's sitting there nope, going straight to hell. Boom, 5 minutes.
Well, it's funny. We had this Young Life camp when I was in high school, and Young Life was a thing. And I don't know if it's still, I mean, I'm sure they still do Young Life, but I'm not that young anymore, so I don't do Young Life. And we went and we did this whole service, and then they're like, okay, now everybody's going to go out to the lawn for 10 minutes. And I'm thinking, that is long. Like, what the heck? And so we go out, and then all of a sudden they're ringing the bell, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's been 10 minutes. But it's like, the more active you are in your prayer time and your time with God, the quicker it goes. But like when you're like putting a time limit on it, or like having to fit into this box, it's not comfortable. Where if you just allow yourself to like break that box mold and just, I heard somebody say dance with God, like do what is right with you and not make it fit this checklist or this box. It's just, it becomes more fun. Like instead of being a thing you have to do, it's like, it's not homework.
Right.
It's a relationship. Yeah. And so I grew up dancing. So for me, when I heard, take God out of the box and dance with God, it was like so cool to me, because I'm like, I can do that. Like I can read my Bible and eat breakfast. There's no rules against doing it together.
Yeah.
Or listen to somebody else read it, just.
Yeah. And just have it there. And like, I swear my neighbors have like blockers to block Wi-Fi, because I play worship music all day long, even while I'm working. And like, randomly, my Wi-Fi will just go out, and there will be Wi-Fi nowhere. Like, can't connect to my hotspot. And I'm like, I think they're just getting annoyed at me and blocking my signal. They probably aren't. But
probably just Comcast.
In my head, it makes sense.
Who's the provider?
And like if it gets to be like 10 or 11 at night and I have the TV on or something, all of a sudden it's like Wi-Fi gone. And I'm like, where does it go?
I know.
Yeah, that's strange.
You have to talk to your provider about that.
I know. I call Cox. There's no outage in your area. I'm like, well, it's not on for me. So, anyways, tangent. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Thanks for that. Because I'm in God's word, actually between 40 and 60 hours a week is how long I'm
know.
Yeah, you already know.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely, man. It was. We drove up to Scottsdale. We talked about God the whole way and the whole way back, and it's so good to have that type of fellowship, because being here, if I ever have hard times, because working in this field too, bro, you deal with that on a daily basis.
Daily.
I mean, you're taking in all of these toxic environments, man. I mean, just horrible things that happen to people that just are unexpected, that this thing, just horrible, the worst things you could imagine.
Right.
And you need to have that fellowship, which is why I'm so grateful to be sitting here right now, because if I ever have a problem, I knock on the door. I can give her a call. Our buddy Kyle, maintenance, the people that we've met. My cousin April's a therapist. She just started here, Christian. Like, it's good to have that fellowship. It's my community.
I remember you mentioning things like that in our groups, that, just got to know when and where with who.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Wow.
Got to trust that discernment.
Right.
And you know what's crazy is, like, I swear God gives us almost moments of clarity that, like, we are discerning, right? Like with silly things. Like I'll be like, don't carry this water bottle up or you're going to drop it and you're going to spill all over the place. But then you do it anyways and you spill all over the place and you're like, well, I knew I was going to do that. And it's like this like weird, silly, like confirmation, like that I am hearing God. I still remember I was at a Bible study. This was like probably 6 years ago. And I had this brand new Bible and I was like, so excited about it. It was pretty and it's leather and it like I got new highlighters and pens, like all the fun things. And I had to use the restroom really quick before service and I sat on the table and I was like to myself, I was like, don't do that. Coffee's gonna get on it. But like I didn't want to bring my new Bible into the restroom with me. I came back and there was coffee all over it. And and every time though I see that coffee stain on my Bible, I know that I heard God. And it's like this silly reminder that I do hear God. Like, and I can trust what I'm hearing and I don't need, because it's hard to trust.
Yeah.
I question if I'm actually hearing God or if I'm hearing the desire of my heart. And that's a thing that as Christians we have to deal with. But whenever I see that little coffee stain on there, I swear it happened on purpose, because it's my reminder that I do hear God. And like maybe that wasn't God making that happen, but I choose to believe that it is. And like when you see my Bible,
I believe it.
And when you see it, like, I mean, it's not this like huge coffee stain. It's just this perfect coffee stain that goes down the bottom of my Bible that I can see on every page.
A reminder.
Yes. Whenever I open my Bible,
listen to me.
I should have taken it with me.
Hey,
but if I wouldn't have, then I wouldn't have this reminder that I did hear God that day. And I just didn't listen. And as silly as it is, it's just coffee. It's not like it ruined anything. But I didn't listen.
God was like, hey, you know what? I know this book is pretty, but you need to open it.
But you messed it up. Yeah.
You got to open it up. That's funny.
I can't tell you how many times I've locked myself out of my car for that reason, where it's like, check to make sure you didn't lock or your keys aren't in there. And I'm like, no, I know they're in my pocket.
Yep.
Car locks. And I'm like halfway down to where I'm going. I'm like, shoot.
Yeah.
I don't have my keys.
And it's the silly things, but it's those little reminders that we do hear God. And like we can, and I think at the end of the day, we know when it's God or not God. You know, like you have the discernment. God fills you and he is within you and you know, but you just have to choose to listen.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, we always ask this question, and this is something that I really feel is important, you know, especially living where you live and knowing how bad drugs have gone over here, especially now that this fentanyl epidemic has taken off. What advice would you give to somebody who's out there in the streets right now, feeling completely lost and hopeless, like their life doesn't matter, anything they do doesn't matter? Like, do you feel like there's anything you can say to somebody at that point in their life?
Having been there, it isn't usually until I have something very traumatic happen that I start to pay attention to anybody else's suggestions. I always feel like I have the right answers, right? But my suggestion is try something different. You know, like if you're unhappy and you've been using, well, the obvious choice I think would be to try to stop using, you know, try to see what recovery has to offer. Try it out.
Yeah.
You know, you might like it. Just like I liked drugs. Well, I know I like recovery too now. I prefer recovery than drugs. You know, like
I like that.
I know that my body still likes drugs. You know, like I know that my body likes the way I feel when I'm on drugs, but my mentality goes into chaos when I'm consuming.
Wow.
It's weird because you can say that it's a simple choice, right? It's a simple yet difficult choice. You know, like the choice is obvious, you shouldn't do it, but it's hard to take action on that choice. I think that's why a lot of us come in here saying, oh yeah, we want to stop using and we've made the choice to stop using. But standing by that choice, sacrificing your desires and the wants to like be out there in the grind. You know, some of us really do love being out there hustling, you know, and trying to find that next, like it's like a challenge, you know, and that becomes our routine. Well, fighting against that is the hard part. It's not the choice. I don't think any of us like feeling sick. I don't think any of us like feeling manic, paranoid, fearful. Those are all things that I don't think anybody enjoys. I know I sure as heck don't enjoy those feelings. And because I don't enjoy those feelings, that's what fuels me, you know, like, all right, I don't want to go back to feeling that way.
Yeah.
I'd rather feel like normal, not normal. I don't like to use that word, but like at ease, you know?
Yeah.
I'd rather be content than feel that way. And I know that as long as I'm not using, I'm working towards that. Yeah, like I'm super grateful. I have to throw that in there because I meant to start by saying the things that I'm grateful for because that's how I start my days, you know? I send messages to people who are important to me and who I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm grateful that I was here in Tucson last year, you know? I'm grateful that this place existed. I'm grateful that I met people like Buddha, like Ray. Ray is a huge influence in my recovery, you know? He told me, he's like, you know, he mentioned to me RSS programs. And I was like, cool. I was like, I'll do that U of A one. And then Katie mentions to me Coyote Task Force one. And she just like really like always talked about that one. And I was like, no, I want to do U of A so I can have something from the U of A. So lo and behold, you know, God opened up a different door and I ended up doing the 8-week course at Coyote Task Force.
Awesome.
You know, I loved it. And I always remember that because I remember saying to myself, no, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And then again, I dared to try something different and I loved it. You know, I really appreciate it. You know, like I feel like I accomplished something. And it was something that was so selfish, so egotistical, but for a good cause. It's okay to want things for myself and to do things for myself. It's for the right reasons. You know, the next right thing.
That's very important that you said that. For the right reasons. That's the difference, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, keeping it in the spirit of Christmas, we were talking a little bit before the show. Christmas is about Jesus' birth, right here on this earth. But we also know that not even the presents, bro, but you know, you get so much more fulfillment when you give other than receiving. And you gave us an amazing gift today by coming down here and sharing your testimony. So thank you very much for that, bro.
So much.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And thank you for, like I said, bringing me out of my shell a little bit and allowing me to express myself the only way I know how. I sometimes am awkward. Sometimes, like you said, I could have a...
Oh, we're right here together.
But I mean, like, it's who I am, and I accept myself the way I am right now. I feel like I'm being an authentic version of myself that I didn't know existed. And like, it's all thanks to my family, both related and non-related, you know? I have people in my life that I consider family and that I would do the same things that I would do for my brothers and sisters, you know?
Yeah.
I have a lot of unconditional love for people who I may not know very well, but it's there, you know, like I have love for you, Buddha, for you, Michaela, for you,
too,
Mr.
man.
Vance, you know, like any way that I can ever help, I will be there. I don't like to help people that don't want help. You know, I feel like it's not a waste of time. It's just not the right time. Not a waste of time. It's just not the right time.
Yeah.
Totally.
Right.
So I thought about this on the way here, and I wanted. This is one point that I wanted to get across. It's like because I heard on another podcast from here that I was listening to on the way here. It was like, oh, I want to help people, and I was like, yeah, I was like, I do too, but I want to help people that want help.
Yeah.
I want to be there for people that want me to be there for them, so that I can just really just like, you know, give my 100% to those people and really just engage it, because it's important to want the help, but that doesn't mean that I didn't want the help.
Yeah.
You know, I'm kind of going against like what I went through. I didn't want the help, but I learned that I really did, that I needed it.
Awesome.
You know, like when they took me to Mexico, I didn't want that. And it's not about what I want. It's not about what we want. You know, it's about what we need. And when we're not rationalizing anything, and we don't know what we need. We don't know what we really want.
Yeah.
So thank you to my family for my mom specifically. You know, my mom, I always kind of get a little bit emotional when I think about her, because I know she sacrifices a lot for her family, and she was strong when I was very, very weak. She did something that was hard for her, but I'm here right now because of her. You know, like I know that if I had stayed in that, I didn't even mention this, but I was shot. You know, I got shot in my legs because of the crowds I was in, you know? And I got to the point, I suffer from an illness that if I don't take medication every day, I could, you know, potentially, it's fatal.
Yeah.
I stopped taking medication. I didn't care. I dropped down to 127 pounds. I'm 5'9" and a male, you know, like that's very small. But if it wasn't for my mom to be there and help me pull me out of that, I would be dead right now. Like, I don't like saying it, but I know that I would not be sitting here right now full of life. And like I said, although awkward at times, like I'm still myself, you know, like I wouldn't be this person. I wouldn't exist anymore.
Sometimes I think awkward has a bad stigma to it, because honestly, I love awkward. I'm awkward sometimes, but you know what? It makes us who we are. And I appreciate people that can just embrace their awkwardness, because it shows like you have to be vulnerable to let it out. And I think it shows this true, like authentic part of ourselves. And when you can like share your awkwardness and your quirkiness and your uniqueness, you're allowing people to see a side of you that normally people would try to hide. And I think that that's a strength and not something to be like bummed out about, because I think I like awkward.
I think it brings the people that are most like me around me.
Yeah.
I've noticed that ever since I've been embracing this, like who I feel like I am, rather than trying to be somebody I'm not. Like I've been able to build more, like, I don't know how to say, stronger, I guess, or like more meaningful relationships.
Yeah.
With people
Absolutely.
that it's like, like you're a friend and you're my actual friend. You know, you're not just here for interest or because I have this or because I need this from you. It's like actual relationships that matter.
Oh, man.
Buddha, can we give his mom a Merry Christmas?
Oh,
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. What's your mother's name?
Raquel Ramos.
Raquel. Raquel. I'm gonna say it real nice. Raquel. And from everyone here at the ARCast, we're wishing you a very beautiful and special Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you and your family. And you have an amazing son here. He is very, very powerful. We're very grateful that he's here, and you should be very proud of your boy.
Amen.
Yes, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Mom. I love you a lot.
Hey, man, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the ARCast. Man, this is great. We love you guys. For everyone out there, you know, first of all, thank you for coming, brother. For everyone out there, we're wishing you a very special holiday. Make sure to remember what the true spirit of Christmas is, and appreciate, if you have your family, if you have your loved ones, embrace those moments, man, and show some gratitude. Be thankful to God for having those special moments, because we know that we're not here forever. And, you know, we're so proud of our brother Alvaro for coming, and we're just so thankful for everything, guys. So we'll, you know, for everyone else who's out there, much love, guys. God bless, and we will see you on the next one. Peace.
Love.
What's going on, everybody? This is Buddha from the ARCast, and I just wanted to thank you for checking out this week's episode. It means a lot, and if you could share it with a friend or a loved one, somebody in need in recovery, or maybe somebody who just needs that little bit of extra positivity in their life, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you would like to join us here on the ARCast, either in the studio live or online, hit us up. The links are down in the show notes of this episode, and on there, you can find direct links to our main website here at Americas Rehab Campus and all of our social media platforms. Follow us. We keep the posts positive and motivational, focused on recovery, health, and wellness. As you know, in this modern day and age, we need as much love as possible, y'all. And as always, if you or somebody you know is in need of substance abuse treatment, please don't hesitate to give us a call. We're open 24 hours a day, and our direct phone number is 1-833-272-7342. Once again, that phone number is 1-833-272-7342. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day. Much love and God bless. Peace.